What up, y'all? So, normally I do videos about card changes, but I actually want to know what you guys think also. I think there's enough of you guys following the channel now that I think I can reasonably ask for your opinions and feedback, and some of you guys will hopefully start some good conversations in the comments. But we got two card changes, and simply just to. It's happening to two of the most powerful cards in the format, in my opinion. And arguably, maybe not the most powerful, like objectively, I think in terms of usage and effect on the metagame, maybe is a better way to put it. But Flight Maneuvers is going to +1 attack instead of +1/+1, and Prescient Slitherdrake going to a 5/8 instead of a 6/8. Now, I think these are pretty tame nerfs. They don't do enough to address the issues that I think Blizzard thinks they're addressing. So that would be number one, is I don't think that this is the proper solution if you genuinely think that these cards are a problem. So Flight Maneuvers, in my opinion, the big issue is the Divine Shield, you know? And past that, the fact that you don't need minions for Flight Maneuvers to be something that affects the board is huge. So, a lot of times, it reminds me of Aggro Paladin about, 6 or 9 months ago, whenever it was. So you'd play a bunch of dudes, you play a Crusader Aura, and then, your opponent could effectively deal with you because there's no Divine Shield. And if you run out of minions, if you can, hold off their board long enough so that the Crusader Aura doesn't have a big enough effect when they play it, you can still beat them. But because of this making minions and giving Divine Shield and giving a pump, I feel like those factors make it so it's just, this card is pretty difficult to answer. If you just have one or two other minions, it's just phenomenally powerful. Prescient Slitherdrake, I actually really like Prescient Slitherdrake. I think this is a fantastic card. I think the elusive is the issue, in my opinion. So I think some people are like, oh, this card's way too big. Well, I think the costing 3 less if you're holding a dragon is a reasonable thing. Maybe 2 less is more appropriate. Sure, I'll give you that. But I think the cost is not the problem. I think if it was still a 6/9 and it cost 4 when you had a dragon in your hand, that'd be totally fine if it didn't have elusive. Because it effectively makes it, almost unanswerable. So what's the blazing guy that just came from the rewards, where you can, if you play a fire spell, you can just destroy a minion? Well, that can hit Prescient Slitherdrake, and I feel like that was Blizzard maybe giving us a better answer for Slitherdrake, because since it's a battle cry and it's not a hero power or a spell that's targeting it, it can get around the elusive. But that obviously by itself is not enough to answer it, because it's a warrior card, and warrior's already good enough, and honestly, it just felt like they were... It feels like Blizzard doesn't play the game. So this is one of the things I wanted to get into here. I see a lot of conversation on the interwebs about two specific things. One being that Blizzard doesn't play their own game. It seems very apparent that they don't have the people in R&D and the people that are making these balance changes really informed about the game in a meaningful way, and it's pretty apparent they don't play the game. I kind of agree with that. I don't know what you guys think, but that makes a lot of sense based on the way that the last couple of weeks or the last month or so has gone, pretty much since Cataclysm has come out. Doesn't seem like they're in tune with the metagame the way that a lot of us are, and it feels like it's been a really jarring month or month and a half. Since Cataclysm came out, I was very hopeful for a new, refreshed, very interesting metagame, and it's just been Whiplash City. So that's just me. I don't know if that's been your experience, but I feel at this point that if you're not playing Paladin in some way, you're probably behind. And there are times when you can get away with playing other decks if you are okay with sacrificing a certain percentage of wins so that you can enjoy your play that much more. Good examples being playing Herald Rogue. Herald Rogue is a lot of fun. Sometimes you can just roll people with it. However, there are some matchups you're gonna start the game and you're just gonna know, I don't really have much of a chance here, and usually that's gonna be a Paladin matchup. So it's very interesting. I think Dragon Warrior is a powerful deck and pretty cool, but I'm not sure how healthy those things are for the format. So definitely let me know what you guys think about this type of stuff, because I'm really interested in what people genuinely think about this. Because a lot of times you see conversations on the internet, and they're just people being hyperbolic, trying to say something to stir up some nonsense so that people will comment, so that people will share it. But the other thing that I've seen on the internet that people are talking about a lot outside of Blizzard not playing their own game is that we need buffs more than we need nerfs. And this is one that I'm really, really curious about what you guys think, because it seems to me, and a lot of people seem to think this on the internet, that nerfing these cards is just going to make the game slowly but surely less powerful. It seems like power creep is very real, but only in a specific, or a couple specific areas in the game. Obviously, flight maneuvers, hugely powerful. Obviously, there's a couple of cards in the standard format right now that are just insanely powerful. However, it doesn't seem like those cards express what the metagame's power level overall is. It seems like there are just those couple of things, and everything else kind of has to warp around those cards, and the metagame just kind of suffers overall. Past that, though, it seems like buffing some other cards in some underpowered classes might be pretty fun. Because I don't mind if there's some really ridiculously powerful things, like these cards and many others that exist, if the other classes have a chance, because they also have powerful cards. So if we can unconsolidate that power that's really just consolidated into a couple of classes, then I think the game could be much more balanced. The more we nerf, the more jarring it is, and it changes everything for everybody. So at this point, I'm almost tempted to dust my flight maneuvers. One, because they just nerfed it, so I'm going to get full value. But two, because that'll force me to start playing some other things, and not just be like, well, let's play Paladin because it's good, and because I genuinely feel like we need some new innovation, and we've had a little bit of that over the last couple of weeks or month. But for the most part, everybody found some of the best decks. It started with Imbue Druid right after Cataclysm came out, and Blizzard was like, nope, too powerful. I think enough people complained about it. Blizzard heard it. Obviously not because they were playing the game. If they were playing the game, and especially before the set actually came out, they would know exactly how powerful that was, because it was very obvious very quickly how powerful Imbue Druid was. And then from there, they're like, okay, now we have Bubble Paladin, now we have Aura Paladin, and we're like, oh, this just reminds us of the last format where Paladin was the best. And Blizzard's like, nope, we're going to nerf that. And it's really interesting how it's more of like a... It reminds me of that parent that doesn't pay attention to their kid until they do something bad. And then someone's like, hey, your kid's getting in trouble over there. And they're like, ah, and then they punish their kid. But that's the only time they pay attention to him. So I feel like Blizzard is kind of doing that to us, where they're like, oh, no, you can't do that. But it's like, what? Are you paying attention at all? Did you, can you look at the whole of what's going on here, as opposed to just pointing out when people complain about things? So that is my rant about the card changes. I think it's possible this will have a positive effect on the metagame, but we really won't know for at least a couple of days, if not a week. Whenever there are card changes, new sets, rotations in formats, anything like that, in my opinion, it usually takes about a week for everything to completely settle and for us to have an idea of how the metagame will evolve with those differences. So we will certainly see soon. But I'm honestly tired of so many different card changes and, dropping new cards into the set. It's like, let's get a good metagame going. Let's get a strong, healthy metagame. And if everything's powerful, cool. If everything's weak, cool. But let's find a place that's genuinely balanced and not this random thing that Blizzard obviously has no control over. So if you got this far in the video, I appreciate it. My rants are, I try to keep my rants to a minimum, because I know that some of you guys are here for many different reasons. But I think it's good to have a conversation about this type of stuff, especially at this point in the game where it's been pretty clear that Blizzard is just grasping at straws and trying to figure out something to work without having all the information. So definitely let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm very interested to see what your opinions are about these card changes and just the metagame overall, because it seems like every time I start to get a hold of the metagame, something changes. They either drop some new cards, the card changes, something. And now we've got pretty soon, I forget exactly, but pretty soon we've got some new class cards or something. So we're going to have, I think it's 4 different classes. We're going to get 4 or 5 new cards apiece, something like that. And who knows if this is going to be positive for the metagame or not. We'll certainly see once we have all the spoilers out. But it's a weird spot for Hearthstone right now, and I would really love to get a hold on the metagame and be able to just like play a bunch. And once we've got a nice, healthy, balanced metagame, I feel like it's a lot easier to actually innovate and really get deep into the nuance of a metagame and all that. But we'll see what happens. Appreciate you guys watching. Big thank you if you're already following. If not, definitely feel free to drop a follow, because I talk about stuff like this, but I also do a bunch of gameplay. So whether it's competitive decks or fun decks, I try to have a good mix of things that I actually enjoy playing. So peace and love, guys. I will catch you next time.